No one's ever done it for me. I mean, I have to say, I've definitely had help along the way. But what I've learned is like the only way it's going to happen is if you do it yourself, and hopefully you get people behind you to believe in what you're doing. And then they start doing it too. I never hired people to work, whether it was at a fashion magazine or now at Glam for Good. Even if they look great, they have to like roll up their sleeves and be able to bust their butt. Because you know what? If you can't give 100%, it's not going to get done. And, we did an event with Mrs. Obama. I think it was one of the most incredible initiatives, one of those moments that you asked me that was important for Glam for Good. And that was obviously a huge honor for Glam for Good. And I co-hosted it with Mrs. Obama, and we were in a military base helping military moms. And it was just such a moment. Like I was in that moment going, this is unbelievable. I'm so honored to be with Mrs. Obama. She was there working too. She was scrapping too. She was making it happen. I've had in my career the honor to work with so many incredible people like Oprah, like Mrs. Obama, and so many others. And especially through fashion and now through Glam for Good, some of the hardest working people I've met are the biggest stars.
Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. Now it's time for my favorite segment where we get to hear from you, our listeners, about your favorite fashion moments.
My name is Sandra Jo. I'm from San Diego, California, and one of my favorite fashion moments of all time was seeing Eden Miller's runway show in 2013. That was all plus-size women walking down the runway at New York Fashion Week. It really resonated with me because it was awesome to see bodies like mine representing designer collections and showing everybody that all bodies can be the face and the body of designer collections.
Mary Alice Stephenson is one of my go-to fashion and beauty experts. As one of the industry's most notable fashion spokespeople, Mary Alice has appeared on almost every major network in the nation. Having consulted for brands like American Express, Tommy Hilfiger, MAC Cosmetics, and Caroline Herrera, to name a few, she's not only brilliant and drop-dead gorgeous, but also has a heart of gold, giving back to others as often as she can. Mary Alice is the founder and CEO of Glam for Good and the Glam for Good Foundation, an organization that uses style to make a social impact. She has received several awards and honors and even participated in First Lady Michelle Obama's fashion education workshop at the White House. The Glam for Good Foundation empowers thousands of women and their families across the country with initiatives that donate millions in clothing, personal care essentials, and several services, as well as raise awareness for numerous causes. Listen in to learn more about Mary Alice's journey and Glam for Good.
Well, hello, Mary Alice Stephenson. I am so thrilled that you are a guest today on A Fashion Moment with me. It's been so long since I've last seen you. You've done so many amazing things, especially with Glam for Good, but also you've had such an amazing career in both fashion and the nonprofit industry and TV. We got to talk about the show. So if we could start from the beginning, where are you from? And, how in the world did you get here? Where'd this come from?
Oh my God. Well, I really don't know. You know what I mean?
I know. It's like, where did this love for fashion come from?
Right. Where did that all come from? I think, you know what? First of all, thank you so much. It's awesome to be here with you, Kristen. And I've always been a big fan of you and how you conduct yourself in the world. And you're such a big, kind sweetheart of a woman and beautiful inside and out. And so when you asked me to do this podcast, I'm honored to be here. And I'm excited for you and everything in your future. I started Glam for Good after being in the fashion and beauty industry for, as you know, over 25 years. And it started as a movement and was just a way to connect purpose to fashion and beauty. And I started doing a lot of initiatives, empowerment initiatives with nonprofits and organizations across the country. And it was really just me seeing that there was so much excess in fashion and beauty because I had been in this industry for so long. And I saw all the clothing and self-care products that were either burned or put in landfills or just demolished in some way. And I just thought there's got to be a better way to repurpose all of the things that big mass brands in fashion and beauty and smaller brands are not utilizing anymore. And so it was something that I couldn't stop myself. I mean, once it started, I think you hear that a lot from nonprofit leaders or entrepreneurs. Like when you hit the chord of life that is yours, what you're supposed to be doing, and everything comes together, it just made so much sense for me. I knew that every single moment in my long career in fashion at Harper's Bazaar, Vogue, Marie Claire, Allure, consulting with brands, it was all meant to be for Glam for Good. Absolutely, 100%. So, growing up in Michigan, coming to New York and working in the fashion and beauty business, was just such an incredible ride and experience. And then when I connected it to what I'm really supposed to be doing in life, divine purpose, it was just miracles happen. Because there's no way I could have started Glam for Good without people like you, friends and a community around me that I got to know through my career. Because Glam for Good did not start with an endowment. I did not sell a company. I did not marry a philanthropist. Glam for Good started with nothing but love and good intention, hard work, and seeing a problem in the fashion and beauty industry and how I could turn it in favor to help people, really.
And what were some of your first initiatives? Like when you were getting started, what were some of the ideas that you had and what kind of projects did you work on?
I started working with a lot of organizations like American Cancer Society and Make-A-Wish. And I started doing these big fashion gives and more kind of makeover initiatives, helping women that had gone through a really tough time, whether it was from breast cancer or life-threatening illness. And so that was more of a kind of empowering self-esteem and dignity, kind of one person at a time. And then that just started growing and till today. And now Glam for Good, the Glam for Good Foundation, our mission is to give new clothing and personal care essentials and services to people in need around 6 impact pillars. So we actually give what people need, just like water, shelter, food, money. People need that to survive. People need clothing and self-care. So we do big gives we've worked with over 32,000 women and their family. We've given close to 40 million in goods and services and across the country. And so it really evolved. And I think everything does. It's a big learning safari. For me, I never thought I'd be running a nonprofit, right? So it's a huge learning safari. And as I was learning and talking to nonprofits I was doing initiatives with, it really started evolving. And it started as a movement. And then we turned into an official 501c3 in 2016. And so next year's our 5th year as a nonprofit.
Wow.
But it's been a big, any entrepreneur of any business, it's a big learning curve. And I never thought I'd be running a nonprofit. And it's been quite a journey. And I've learned what to do and not to do through this process. But at the end of the day, I'm very, very proud of the incredible work we've done across the country And now when we do events and pop-ups in different locations, we're helping hundreds. Or even now during the pandemic, pivoting and sending to different organizations, which they then pop up. So whether it's a natural disaster zone, whether it's in a homeless shelter, a domestic violence shelter, whether it's in an underserved school or a hospital, or what we're doing right this very minute in the next couple weeks with New York City. We literally do these gives of socks, underwear, key clothing pieces that people need, whether it's work related, whether it's school related, and then also self-care, deodorant, face wash,
so important.
Chapstick, whatever it is to keep someone feeling good about themselves and to empower their dignity. And keep them going through whatever challenges they're going through is really what we do.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing. When people think of fashion or the industry, they often don't associate it with doing good and helping others. So it was really great. I mean, you were, one of the first pioneers to really sort of connect those things. And that's so awesome to see. I'm curious, what was one of the most pivotal, life-changing moments for you in your work where you realize and recognize that what you were doing was truly making an impact on people's lives?
Oh my God. I mean, there's
so many.
I really do think, I think there's been so many different, I'll give you a couple examples. There's been so many different moments where, for example, we were at after Hurricane Maria, we were in Texas and we did a pop-up with 1,000 teachers.
Wow.
And the teachers all lost everything. They all lost their homes in the hurricane or really damaged, lost a lot of because after a hurricane and a water disaster, leaking and all that, there comes mold, right? So you have to basically throw away all of your clothes.
Oh my God.
And also after natural disasters, people lose things like their eyewear and they lose everything really and have to start fresh. And, so we popped up in Texas and, gave pretty much head to toe things for workwear, sleepwear, things for their kids to have and their entire families to have. And I think that was something like, 2.8 million in goods.
Wow.
We brought into Houston. And I was sitting in the hallway and this group, there was about 4 women. And it was after, they had left the event and I had gone out to just get some air because it was a very intense event, emotional event. And I went outside for a second to, call my son and check in with him back in New York and get some air. And they were crying and they saw me and they came up and just did this like big hug. They were like bear in a circle and they were bawling and I started crying. And I just knew they felt, I can't even talk about it without crying now. I knew they felt
you're going to make me cry. I'm like, we're about to cry on this show, I tell ya. Woo!
I knew they felt relief that we could help. We can't help with everything, but we can help recreate wardrobes and, supplies that you need to empower dignity. And I think what happens when women, we are caretakers and givers. And so in our pop-ups across the country, in our event, women will pick for their kids, they'll pick for their husbands, they'll pick for their boyfriends, they'll pick for their family members, their friends, they won't pick for themselves. And they're always looking out for other people. And, but they feel, when they feel that they can, give to the people that they love, it's so nourishing for them. And so it was a beautiful, beautiful moment that they expressed gratitude. And that happens all the time at Glam for Good. I mean, I think, we underestimate the incredible impact that actually reaching out to people and saying, like, we got you on this, we're here for you, showing acts of kindness and care that help people with something that they need, it's liberating for the person that is giving it, and it's liberating for the person that is receiving it, because just knowing that someone's got your back every now and then,
that is the word.
That, right? And another time we were doing this Christmas in Detroit, we did a pop-up, and it was 400 kids, getting them back to school clothing, getting them winter coats. And one of the nonprofits that we invited to this event, we had about 10 Detroit-based nonprofits. They all wrote thank you letters. So I got this, at the Glam for Good offices, this grouping of thank you letters. And they were beautiful and so moving. Our team loved them. And one letter was just, dear Glam for Good, thank you for not making me feel invisible. And I just thought, here's an 8-year-old kid that's never felt seen. And thank you for not making me feel invisible. So it was more than just the coats he was receiving, or the new shoes, or the sweaters, or the Christmas gifts we gave him to be able to give to his mama. He felt acknowledged as a human being. And I think that's the beauty of giving and service, is acknowledging it, that we're all in this together.
Wow. And you have a small team. How do you guys do all of that? Wait, hold on a second. How many people are on your team?
We have about,
Mary Alice,
6 members on the team, and
oh my God.
We really rely on the core team. We have incredible humans, like Nina Kamala, our finance director, who she literally accounts for every piece of clothing coming in and going out.
Yes, and, I know about that life.
And quantification of it all. We literally, we usually, when we're about to do gives, we have such an incredible community around us of volunteers and employees that work for corporations that sponsor our gives. So employee activism is big with our partners. And also we have 14 board of directors members and a lot of people who in fashion, like Dee Hilfiger and Adam Glassman from Oprah's team, and Mara Hoffman, fashion designer. And we have 45 advisory board members of a lot of really interesting people from all walks of life. But a lot of them are in this industry of, fashion and accessories and self-care. And everyone's been super supportive. So it takes a village to do this, and we really have one. So even though we're a young nonprofit, only 4 years old, we have a massive community around us that support us during our gives.
Amazing. And I mean, the work that you're doing is so important right now, beyond important with the pandemic. And I mean, it's just great to hear. See, fashion people care. Hello. Fashion people actually help other people. What I also admire about you is that you're doing all of this and you are a mother.
Yes.
Yeah. And that just balancing, first of all, what is your, what is the key to balance? I know it's like one of those questions, or it's how do you do it all, right? Can you do it all? How do you balance all of this? How do you run your organization and look fabulous? I don't see any wrinkles on this face.
You know what? Everyone does the best they can. It's overwhelming. It's hard to juggle it all. And,
I'm tired.
There's good days and bad days, and we are all rallying and trying to do the best we can. And, I just try to focus on forward movement and not getting stuck and getting overwhelmed. And I think for me, action, that what I learned is you can always think big, right? In any genre, you're thinking big, and to have big ideas, that's incredible. But you really have to have actionables and steps, and you get these things done and mark them off the list. So for me, it was, one give at a time that started growing Glam for Good. Okay, let's get this done. Let's pop up in this domestic violence shelter. Let's make it happen. Done. Then next. And we just kept on. And I think that's really, I think that we all get overwhelmed with all we have to do. So if we focus on what's in front of us, and focus on that. And it, nowadays no one sees the sloppy. Listen, it can be scrappy sometimes, right? I mean, Glam for Good now is 4 years old and we have incredible people working, but we're cutting boxes. It does not all go the way it's supposed to go. It's exhausting. Like, sometimes I try to show like receiving. I'm sure you've seen it on my Instagram where we're getting 20,000 pounds of clothing. Well,
I saw that.
It's like a team of 5 of us, even during pandemic, smaller, trying to box and open.
Yeah.
It is not glamorous. Glam for Good is, not glamorous. It isn't. It's really, the name actually, it's really helping people with critical aid, and it takes a lot of work to do it. So, and getting my son involved has been awesome too. So involving your kids in what you do is really important.
Wow, that's amazing. You've always been scrappy though. I will never forget when I was working at Lord & Taylor in the fashion office and you needed to pull some shoes for Naeem Khan.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
The show.
Uh-huh.
You walk in, hair done, face beat with this amazing, I think you were wearing Naeem. It was like a beaded jacket. It was just like gold, like you were just sparkling everywhere. And you were on the shoe floor on your knees, like, all right, hand me this one, just like scrappy. I was like, oh my God, she's like getting on the ground, getting to work.
In
like full on couture. Yeah. I was like, okay.
Well, you know what?
I love it.
No one's ever done it for me. I mean, I have to say, I've definitely had help along the way. But what I've learned is like the only way it's going to happen is if you do it yourself. And hopefully you get people behind you to believe in what you're doing. And then they start doing it too. And I think that I never hired people to work, whether it was at a fashion magazine or now at Glam for Good. Even if they look great, they'd have to they have to like roll up their sleeves and be able to bust their butt. Because you know what? If you can't give 100%, it's not going to get done. And, we did an event with Mrs. Obama. I think it was one of the most incredible initiatives, one of those moments that you asked me that was important for Glam for Good. And that was obviously a huge honor for Glam for Good. And I co-hosted it with Mrs. Obama, and we were in a military base helping military moms. And it was just such a moment. Like I was in that moment going, this is unbelievable. I'm so honored to be with Mrs. Obama. She was there working too. She was scrapping too. She was making it happen.
I love it.
I think I've had in my career, the honor to work with so many incredible people like Oprah, like Mrs. Obama, and so many others. And, especially through fashion and now through Glam for Good. And, some of the hardest working people I've met are the biggest stars. And working their butts off, getting scrappy, getting it done. And I think a lot of people can make it look glamorous, but nothing is successful without 100% pure dedication and heart.
I love it. Well, we're going to get a little surface here and talk about a little fashion. Okay. Now, clearly, it seems like fashion is going in a new direction, not only because of the pandemic, but also, diversity and just inclusion. In your opinion, like, what do you see as next for these brands and what they could potentially consider as they're moving into this phase? Are we digital? Are we still doing retail? Like, what do you, in your opinion, what do you see sort of shifting in the industry as a whole? I mean, you've always been inclusive, but
I think that, listen, there's so much work to be done as far as diversity and inclusion. And I think I see brands like, now, it shouldn't be like a trend.
It should,
Right.
Right? I mean, like all of a sudden
I'm like,
everyone's like, and I'm like, wait, you should have been doing this a long time ago, and this should never stop.
Yeah.
And I think that fashion, I think retail and selling products, fashion, beauty, and more is really going to be personality based and driven digitally, virtually. I really, for a while, think that going back towards, as much as we all like, touching product and being shopping, I think the pandemic will greatly pivot the way that we shop. And I think that through Instagram and platforms like podcasting and, virtual, digital, the website shopping, we've done it enough before the pandemic to like it and know how easy it was. And now technology has made it easier for us, and returns are easier. And we just know it's one-stop shop. I mean, I have to say it does feel good though. Like I was in an H&M the other day. I masked up, I went into H&M and I was like, hallelujah. It felt so good to be shopping, in a retail space. And the music was pumping and H&M, all these cute clothes. And I felt so good being in that space. But unfortunately, I think it's going to be people like you that are beautiful and vivacious and authentic, talking about the products that they love, the fashion that they love, and the people will want to. And now you can do that on Instagram and on a lot of platforms. You can shop directly from people's posts. So.
It's crazy. I mean, going down the Instagram rabbit hole, I'm like, oh my God, the algorithm knows what I'm into. And I just keep clicking. And I'm like, whoa, who are these people? Where'd they come from?
Yeah.
Well, you've always dressed real women and real people over the course of your career. What is something that people can maybe incorporate into their own wardrobe or think more about as they move into the next season? Like it's just, some people say, oh, you wear the Spanx, or, like what would you say as an expert stylist? Because there's so many things to be considered.
You mean what people are going to be wearing like in the next
or just in general, what people should consider? Like some people say shapewear makes you feel better, like always wear the shapewear. Like, what are some things that
we don't need to? I think there's more of an acceptance. I mean, shapewear is a great tool when, when you're going out. I mean, it's not that comfortable shapewear. Let's just face it. I mean, come on. Who wants to shove themselves in those pieces? Like,
after having this baby, though, I like to feel like I have a little something.
I mean, definitely. But I think just in terms of maybe the future, when it's back to kind of event dressing and people are getting more dressed up, shapewear was a critical tool I used throughout my entire career to help make women feel good and look their best in things. But the truth is, activewear, workout gear, sweats,
athleisure
40 is happening right now. And
I know, right? Is it going to be forever?
I mean, hope not, because I like a gown, girl.
Okay, I'm ready for some sparkle and shine. I got a Cynthia Rowley ostrich feather dress. It's like ombre the other day, and my husband's like, "What?" I'm like, I'm collecting the outfits now for post-pandemic.
Right, exactly.
I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready for the Roaring 20s Part 2. I'm ready.
Probably. The other day we were saying that would be so great to, have a dinner and everyone just on a gown. It feels good. But, I think the truth is, I think that what is happening now and, in our pop culture, and with the prices of fashion dropping and more sustainable fashion, I do think it changes the way we dress. And people like to look nice and want to look their best. But at the same time, I do feel that there's far more important things that we as a culture need to be focusing on and taking care of. And so I think the emphasis of I think just looking great and wearing things that are sustainable are spot on. And I think if we can use fashion as a voice to raise awareness and empower and help, people, and give back. And so maybe that's the most important thing fashion should be. That's the future of fashion. There was so much excess materialistic, involved in fashion alongside the creative talent and the awesomeness of fashion. But, it was kind of imbalanced. And I think now, hopefully, especially through sustainability,
so important.
So super important. And, I think that's what's great now with people, all the big fashion brands supporting Glam for Good, is that their excess, instead of putting it in a landfill or burning it, and if it hasn't sold, like right now, a lot isn't selling,
Terrible.
They will donate it. And then we will send it out to, shelters across the country. Or right now we're doing a pop-ups, Glam for Good pop-ups in New York City adolescent shelters, teen shelters,
wonderful,
homes across the city and state, working with New York City Administration of Child Services.
Oh,
so
beautiful.
Brands like H&M and Ulta Beauty have been sending in lots of products,
they have so
right?
much.
And then because they have it, and then we send it out to these different partners, recipient partners that we have across the country. And just to see the power of that to help people with 60 plus million people unemployed, they need clothes. They need
wild,
especially women. They need warm clothes. They need clothes for their kids to go to school. So I think fashion has a responsibility like never before. We can do this, and I think the industry needs to come together, like you're doing right now, platforming Glam for Good, and that getting dressed up sure feels fun, and hopefully. But there is a lot of need in our country, in our backyard.
Yes.
And fashion has a voice. It says, look at me. And I hope it says, let me help you.
I love that. I love that, Mary Alice. And, I, along with our listeners, would love to support Glam for Good. Like, how would we be able to do that?
Glam for Good, you can follow us on social media, which really does help because we let everybody know where we're going, what we're giving, and you see people receiving it. And that was one thing at the beginning I learned with Glam for Good. We really show all of our giving. So I think people feel very confident when they support us with donations. They see it getting to people that really need it.
Yeah.
So at Glam for Good, GLAM 4 GOD on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. And you can donate around. We have our upcoming initiative coming up in with New York City kids to help them get clothing, undergarments, sleepwear, self-care, and school supplies. That will be posted next week. So supporting that. And donations always are the best. We get clothing and self-care from brands, and volunteering always is fantastic too. And you can find us and reach out to us on glamforgood.com.
Perfect. So I can give take all my money, Mary Alice. I'm like loving what's happening right now.
We'll take it. We need it.
We also give it as a gift for birthdays and holidays. Like, can you give the gift of Glam for Good and like make a donation in someone's name?
Yes, for sure. There's a lot. You can reach out to us if you want to do something specific, but you can always make a donation, and there's a way to make it in someone's name and honor, both on the site and through our crowd rising.
I love it. I love it so much. I have to ask, who are you wearing right now? Like, who are you into?
Oh my gosh, who am I wearing? Well,
who are you into right now? Like during the quarantine, like your athleisure looks, like you have the most amazing closet. I'll be sure to put a link in the show notes. Because Mary Alice's closet is like goals. Like I was just like one day.
Thank you.
So like, what's your go-to like brands right now while you're working and helping and saving the world?
Well, I have to say, I will really have to say H&M. And there's two reasons. Is one, because it's so affordable. And after working with so many families and kids in need, being able to, H&M is a national partner of Glam for Good, and they have donated hundreds of thousands. Right before pandemic, 44,000 items, but in whole, hundreds of thousands of items. And we've done amazing events across the country that they've helped empower. And they've been an incredible partner. And I really want to give a shout out to a brand that has helped so many of our recipients, because I think it's super important. A lot of people are on social media saying they're helping, they're doing the Instagram lives, and it's great to raise awareness through your voice, for sure. But action and actually going into the trenches with us, brands that are actually coming in and giving have been critical to our success and to our recipients actually receiving. In H&M, I'm just really blown away by their continued giving of clothing to underserved teens across the country through Glam for Good. So I always sport H&M pieces, and I really want to support them back because I'm so grateful for their support.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. You are amazing. And I'm just I'm so inspired just by having this conversation. There's so much that fashion can do, and you're an example of that. And like you said, there's an opportunity for more of that to happen. So thank you,
well, it's
Mary
an honor
Alice.
to be here with you, Kristen, and come when you can, after the pandemic, come volunteer.
Yeah. Oh my God. I would love to.
We'll come to Maryland. We'll come to Maryland.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, seriously, sign me up.
Great.
Like I may just have to mask it up and come on down.
Anytime.
I would love to do that.
We'd love to have you. Yes, we all do. We're doing everything in masks now, so it's all appropriate.
Yeah.
So
yes, fantastic. I'll definitely reach out about that. And obviously, you're always welcome to come on the show, chat about anything you're working on. We're excited. Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining me for this week of A Fashion Moment. If you like what you hear, we'd love for you to join our community of listeners and spread the word about the show. We also want to hear from you. Share your favorite fashion moments and dream guests with us by sending an audio clip or email to afashionmomentpodcast@gmail.com. Or you can tag us on Instagram @afashionmoment, and you could be featured on next week's episode. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review and let us know what you think. Until then, see you next time for another fashion moment. Podcast production by Rebecca Rashid and John Taylor Williams. Digital media production by Megan Porras.
This recording carries a Creative Commons 4.0 international license. Thanks to Patrick Patricios for their song, Hot Coffee.